What is up, action takers? Welcome back to the After Hours Entrepreneur. Today we're joined by Ryan Pineda, and I've been really impressed by Ryan Pineda. He's found ways to really stand out in the real estate investing and flipping market. I wouldn't say solely, but a lot on the back of YouTube. His YouTube channel has 170,000 subscribers. He was able to build that in the course of about 18 months. Pure businessman. In this episode, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk a little bit about YouTube, how he grew that. We're going to talk about why uniqueness plays such an important role in building your business, something I think that I need to work on as well. And you probably do too. Your uniqueness is really important. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's happening next at the end of the episode. You definitely will listen to the end because we're going to talk about some predictions for the future, some things that are changing, some unique applications that are on the rise. So hit subscribe and let's get into today's episode with Ryan Pineda. By the way, this show is produced by Savant Media. If you are looking to outsource your podcast production, if you want to save more time while still creating an amazing show that hits the right audience at the right time, you need to go to marksavantmedia.com and sign up for a 100% free call to see what resources are available to you. See how you can get your podcast out there and save time. We've all been there. It can be very difficult producing content. We've got your back over at marksavantmedia.com. All right, let's get into the episode. Ryan, welcome to the After Hours Entrepreneur. What's happening?
What's up, Mark? How's it going, man?
Bro, I'm living my best life as I know that you are. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I actually want to go back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial ventures, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but you really got your entrepreneurial legs in real estate, right? How did you make that leap into real estate? Was that difficult? Was it easy? Was it a natural fit? Tell me a little bit about that.
Actually, it was both natural and unnatural. My mom was a realtor, so for my entire life, I watched her be a realtor and sell houses and go about that thing. But I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. For me, I just wanted to play baseball. So, growing up, all I did was play baseball, was pretty good at it, good enough to get a scholarship. Then I became an All-American and eventually got drafted by the Oakland A's. And throughout that time, I knew that in the minor leagues, you don't really make money. So I said, I got to go get something like a side hustle without really knowing what a side hustle was. And I became a realtor. This was back in 2010. I was 21 years old. And from there, it was just like, man, being a realtor is really hard, especially in 2010 when nobody has money. Everyone just went bankrupt. Everyone is upside down. Everyone hates real estate at this point because they all just got burned by it. And little did everyone know, it was like literally the best time to be in real estate if you know what you were doing. And trying to sell homes back then as a 21-year-old when prices were at all-time lows was just terrible. These houses in Vegas, they were under $100,000 and they were just built a couple of years ago, selling for $300,000-$400,000. So it was crazy. It was a crazy time, but I realized I didn't want to do that after a couple of years and I quit being a realtor. Kept my license, but I just quit.
I want to ask you a question actually before we move on to the next phase of your story here, Ryan, because there's this theory that every 10, 12, 14 years, we go through some sort of major financial crisis, right? And I don't know about you, but it seems like things might be teetering on the edge, which I think scares a lot of after hours entrepreneurs when it comes to dropping their primary job and going all in on their dream or on that side hustle, right? So what was it in you, Ryan, that said, you know what, times are tough. The real estate market sucks right now, but I'm going to go in on, I'm going to make this thing happen. Is there any piece of advice you give to someone who's like, the market sucks, it's too risky, I can't do it?
Well, I would just say for me, I've been hearing that for the last 12 years I've been in real estate. I heard it in 2010. I heard it in 2015. I hear it today. I heard it during COVID, and nothing has ever changed in the last 12 years. And we have the longest bull run in history, according to everybody. And if you look at the government, they're going to do everything they can to keep the party going. So when will it stop? I don't know. But I can tell you, unlike last time, real estate will not be the cause of the crash if there is a crash. It's still tough to get a loan. It ain't like they're giving out free money to everybody, but they're not giving out free mortgages to people. Like, you got to still qualify. People who are buying homes, qualify for these homes. And yeah, I just think that there's no supply. So if you're looking at real estate, I don't think that there's going to be any issues on a crash anytime soon. I'm buying as much as I can.
Well, I will say that it's definitely this mentality that a lot of people have is, oh, now's not the right time. When this happens, I have a friend he always wanted to start this YouTube channel. So I was talking about his YouTube channel. He says, Mark, I want to start this outdoor YouTube channel, but once I buy my kayak, then I can start, right? And it's like, it's never going to be the right time, right? Eventually you have to take the plunge and make that jump. But at the same time, I think we want to reduce our risk, you know? So anyway, I don't want to go too far off topic. I want to go back to your story about going to real estate. Market sucks. You're making it happen. So tell me a little bit about that first year, what that was like for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first year, 21-year-old kid as a realtor, didn't really know what I was doing. And I probably made, I don't even know, 10, 15 grand or something. Like, to me, that was a lot of money. I was still living with my parents, and little did I even know that, you know, their house was in foreclosure, and it was eventually foreclosed on maybe a year after that. But, well, I shouldn't say it was foreclosed on. We short sold it because they were so underwater. But nonetheless, it was just, it sucked. I hated it. And eventually, after a couple of years, I quit because I wasn't really making money at it, didn't have a passion for it. And I started my other entrepreneurial journey, which was couch flipping. And once again, back then there was no, well, I think YouTube was just starting out, but there was no YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or all these people telling you how to make money, right? Today, people don't have an excuse, dude. If you can't figure out how to make money and get a side hustle with today, you're just a scrub. Like, that's what it comes down to. You're not, like, the information's out there. But back then, 10 years ago, it wasn't out there. And so I just remember sitting there in my room and I'm looking at couches and stuff, and I'm like, I bet you I could sell these and make money. And I tested the theory out. I just, you know, bought a couch, sold it, made a couple $100, and I was like, this is way easier than being a realtor. I bet you I could just buy one couch a day or, you know, something every day and flip it, make $100, $200. And before I know it, that's $5,000 a month. That's perfectly fine for me. I was good at $5,000 a month. And, you know, I did that for a couple of years and I eventually scaled it. And that was like my first successful business at making money and being an entrepreneur. But eventually I got led back to real estate, but this time in the way of house flipping. You know, I kind of felt like I capped out with couch flipping and stuff. And I'm like, this is cool. Like I'm making good money, but I don't know. I don't want to flip couches my whole life.
Yeah,
I think,
tough to scale that out, right? Yeah, like that, you know, a few $100 here and there when you can have that greater dream, right?
Well, yeah, and it's just like, dude, am I really going to do this my whole life? Like, I'm 25 years old. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
So I decided that I was going to flip houses. Didn't have a ton of money still because I was still playing baseball for, you know, $1,200 a month. I was only couch flipping when I was at home for 6 months and, you know, pretty much just building reserves to go live on them during the baseball season and then, you know, come back and do it all over again. But I ended up buying my first flip back in 2015, maxed out my wife and I's credit cards to cover the down payment on a hard money loan. And we were all in, man. We just went for it. And thankfully it played out and we made 25 grand on that first deal. More money than I ever made on any transaction in my life. And, you know, it was just kind of that aha moment for me. Like, okay, like I can do this. And this is something that I know I could scale to being, in my mind at the time, I was just like, if I could make a few $100,000 a year doing this, like, I'm good, man. There was never like, I need to go have this huge company or make millions doing this. I just said, dude, if I could just make a couple $100,000 a year, I'm good. And I ended up doing that the second year of flipping houses. And I was like, huh, I could probably do a lot more than a couple $100,000 if I really put my mind to it. And things have just progressed ever since. And I'm just constantly, I guess, trying to get better every day and learning new things about myself and like what I'm capable of. I have no idea at this point, you know, what my potential is, but now I realize like I'm never going to limit myself to kind of small thinking anymore.
Well, I'm curious, what do you credit that to? Taking that jump from the $15,000 profit to the next big jump, hitting that big year. Is there anything specifically you credit to? Is it education? Is it community? Is it putting yourself in the right positions? Is it taking more risks? Is it getting your wife to actually agree with your crazy ideas? Like what do you credit that to?
Thankfully, my wife has always agreed to my crazy ideas.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And I know some people struggle with that, but you know, she came from, you know, a low income family. I think her dad made $40,000 a year pretty much his entire career. Her mom never worked. She was a stay-at-home mom. And so they lived on $40,000 a year. And to this day, they still live in the same condo they bought 30 years ago, just literally doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I decided that I wanted to flip houses, or first when I wanted to flip couches, I go, hey, I'm going to try this thing. She's like, okay, like whatever, like just don't do it in the house. If you're going to really do something with it, go get something else. I don't want all these people coming in and out of the condo and all this stuff.
When I sell stuff on the marketplace, like a Favorite's marketplace, my wife's like, they're coming here. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you're crazy. Like, I empathize with that.
Yep. So that was the her only holdback. And then when it came time to max out credit cards, she was just like, look, I trust you. You know, you understand real estate. I understood it as a realtor. I just didn't realize I could actually buy houses myself. I knew like a good deal when I saw it. I was always good at finding deals. And so, you know, I ended up doing that. It worked. And ever since then, whatever crazy idea I've ever had, she just was always behind it. You know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I want to start making TikTok. She's like, okay. You know, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. I'm going to go do this NFT thing. I'm going to go and, you know, buy $1 million worth and see what happens. And she's like, if that's what you want to do, like, whatever, it hasn't failed us yet. So, you know, we're just kind of riding a hot streak in. But no, I would say whatever, I guess for me, it just was always like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, like at the end of the day, it's just money, dude. You can always get money back. I can't get time back. That's my whole philosophy in life at this point is like, for me, the time is the only thing that I know is my limited resource. And money comes and goes. It's like, man, the U.S. can go print, you know, what did they print? 50% of it in the last year and a half?
Yeah, I think, it just completely blew it out. Yeah. But I mean, it's a good point too. And it's interesting, Ryan, because my wife I have this entrepreneurial bug in me. My wife does not, you know, and I think it's really difficult on her to see me taking risks, but you're exactly right. That mentality of, I'm like, listen, I can always go get another job. It's like, you know, that's not a problem. And we've also strategically, you know, reduced all of our debts and expenses to a place that makes it easier to make that jump. So I want to talk about something, Ryan, because something that you find out very quickly when you're going to buy a home is that every single person you know and their mother and their dog is a realtor, right? Everybody. And honestly, when you actually choose a realtor, you're going to leave a lot of people kind of upset at you for not choosing them, but that's another story.
Right.
I noticed, and I know I'm giving you kind of a layup question here, but like, how can you actually stand out as a realtor so that people actually trust that, okay, Ryan's legit. That's the type of person that I want to help find this next home for me. It's a big purchase. It's a big decision for a lot of people, right? Like, what are some ways that you can stand out here in 2022? Is YouTube still viable? Are you going to actually reach people on TikTok? Does a podcast make sense? Like, what are some ways that we can actually stand out in that busy market?
Right. So let me preface this by saying two things. One, obviously I was a crappy realtor. So most of the things I talk about are things that I've done really well. So, you know, I give my opinion on them. But that being said, I tell this, we have over 150 realtors at my brokerage. And so when I talk about this stuff, I mean, now I've learned 10 years later since, you know, sucking as a realtor of what works with sales and marketing yourself. And at the end of the day, that's really what this is. Whether I'm trying to get somebody to, you know, sign up with Future Flipper versus some other real estate education program, or I'm getting somebody to invest with, you know, Pineda Capital versus some other fund that they could potentially invest in. It's all the same thing, right? You're always competing against somebody else for a product or a service. And so the reason people buy our products and services is because of the content we put out, right? Because I put out so much content on a daily basis, they feel like they know me so much better than they may know somebody else. Also, I get a chance to show off what I do know, and I can give them a lot of value before they ever pay me a dime, right? And so by the time that they ever come to us and they're ready to, like in this case, let's just say sell their home or buy a home, they've been watching it for a year, right? And they're like, dude, Ryan's so consistent. He don't miss a beat. He's given me so much value this last year. I know when I'm ready to buy or sell a home, I'm going to go to him, which they're not going to go to me because I'm not a realtor, but you guys get the point. So if you're a realtor, you got to really start selling yourself before they ever want to buy and sell, right? Because most people, they don't even tell people they're a realtor. They just kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm licensed. You should have known that. It's like, no, dude, I only know who's in front of me every day I'm on social media, right? That's who I know as a realtor, because they're out there showing it and they're out there committed to their craft and letting people know and giving people value. And those are the people that kill it. I mean, you cannot be kind of like the old days where, you know, you're low key and, you do your thing without people knowing, like that, those days are over. You have to be the biggest like cheerleader of your own success and let people know what you're doing. And it's not in like a braggadocious way. It's literally just the only way that you're going to stand out in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, a lot of marketing is positioning yourself as an expert and building the know, like, and trust. To your point, like, I think about someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's launching VFriends, this whole NFT project. And NFTs are a very, very volatile, very high risk, high reward type of space. But if you're going to bet on anyone, you're going to bet on Gary Vaynerchuk because he's built up his personal brand for 20 years. He's not going to risk that for a project. So I think about that a lot. And I do want to actually get your opinion on that because the world is changing really quickly. But I want to talk about your YouTube channel for a minute, Ryan. You're Ryan Pineda on YouTube. You've got like 170 million subscribers. It's a pretty big deal, right? What do you attribute?
170,000. I wish I had 170 million.
Oh yeah, excuse me, 170,000. Yeah, but at any rate, a large channel. You got the plaque, that YouTube plaque. Like, what was your journey like for you? Because I see you started in 2014. Did you kind of just like set it and forget it? Have you been consistent over the past 7 years? Was there a particular point where it blew up because you had someone on your show like a Stephen Graham or something? Like, what do you attribute that YouTube success to?
Well, I actually didn't really start YouTube until 2020. I don't know. I guess I opened up an account with my email on Google back in 2014, but never posted, never did anything. Hated YouTube. Didn't care. Honestly, I don't consume a lot of content. I'm like super busy creating content and running my businesses. I literally don't have time to watch videos.
Yeah.
And I just remember back at the end of, during the pandemic, right at the beginning, this was back in March of 2020, I just sat there and I'm like, what direction is the world going in? What do I think people are going to do? And I just sat there looking at all the different options. I said, what industries are about to crush it right now? For one, I was like, masks are going to kill it, but I can't get in the mask game. And this is me as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, toilet paper would kill it, but there's no supply of it. It's too late. And then I started thinking like, man, people are going to be on their TVs. They're locked up at home. They're going to be on social media. Okay, what can I do on the screen? And so in my house flipping business, I started running TV commercials and I ran them heavy. And we made a lot of money from TV commercials. But the second thing I did was I said, you know what? I think this social media thing is going to explode when everyone's in quarantine. And so I made a TikTok in March of 2020. I posted my first real YouTube video in like May of 2020, like serious of like, hey, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to commit to this like I've committed to any of my other businesses. I'm not just going to throw a video up there like, randomly and not care. Because that's what for probably like a year before, I would just make videos on my phone and I would go post them on Facebook or Instagram. And then I had somebody in my office. I'm like, just go throw it on the YouTube. Like, who cares? I didn't care about YouTube. So long story short, May 1st, I'm like, I'm committed. I'm going to be a YouTuber. And I saw these guys that you mentioned, like Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin, and these guys who had big followings already. And I saw what they were making as YouTubers. And I was like, you're telling me this guy is making more money than I am talking to a camera. And I'm out here running real businesses and like taking huge risk, buying real estate, having employees, all this crap. And it was funny because it could have been easy to get mad and be a hater and whatever else, because that's what most real estate investors I know do, because I know a lot of big guys and they're unknown and whatever. And most of them are just haters of, this other way of going about it. Mm-hmm. I said, dude, I'm not going to be a hater. I'm just going to join them. Like, if these guys can do it, I for sure can do it, because they're not even doing anything in real estate. So long story short, I was like, I'm going after it. So I went after it and, it grew pretty quickly. I mean, like you said, 170,000 in about a little over a year and a half of really going after it. And I feel like there's so many things we could be doing to do it even better if I really wanted to, but I'm really happy with the growth. One thing, just quick tip for anybody who's thinking about being a YouTuber. I think news and everything else is the quickest way to grow. If you look at what everyone is doing on, like I said, the Kevins, the Grahams, the Andre Jicks, these guys are all my friends. I've done collabs with all of them, but they're all news heavy because they've understood that the news sells and this is what people search. This is the fastest way to get found, all that. And I just was like, dude, I could care less about the news, man. Like, I ain't trying to live my life like watching the news every day to go make a video on it. I don't have time for all that. So I do my videos in a very different way in that most of them are evergreen because I film them like weeks earlier. And I'm just like, hey, here's what I do in business. Here's what I do to get deals. Here's what I do, you know, whatever in social media. And that way people can watch them forever. And the benefit is it works with my schedule because I can go film 5 videos in a day and be done for the whole. I don't have to watch any more news. It takes me a few hours and I'm done. But the downfall is I'm not going to grow as fast because it is evergreen content and I am missing out on a lot of the trends doing it the way I'm doing it. So there are pros and cons to each.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point, knowing yourself and what you actually, the kind of life you want to build. But I definitely see a lot of value in that evergreen content, right? Because nobody is going to be going in and searching for like housing trends in 2018. Like it's 2022, nobody cares, right? So, you know, I think finding that right mix works. Also, TikTok was the most watched or visited website on the internet last year, which is pretty mind blowing. And that's what TikTok runs off of, its trends, right? Nobody's going back to see TikToks from 2 years ago, right? But honestly, building a channel that quickly is pretty impressive. Were you doing any marketing, ad budget? Were you just leveraging narrative and storytelling? Like, is there anything specifically that you can point at and say that was a turning point, or is it just, I got to know, it's really great. Were you getting like shout outs from other influencers? What do you think happened?
You know what's funny is people think that if they get a shout out or they, you know, get somebody really big on their show or they appear on another show, it's going to blow them up. And the reality is it really doesn't. I mean, you get a slight boost, but it's never anything crazy. You know, it's funny when I first went on Graham Stephan's podcast, I think I had like, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 subs. And you know, I'm thinking, okay, let's see kind of what this does because he's the biggest finance YouTuber, right?
Yep.
And I think I got like 1,000 subs that day and then like 1,000 the next day, but it was nothing.
It was like a
crazy,
bump. Right? A little boost.
It was a little bump, but it was nothing in terms of like this big, you're going viral now because you're on his thing. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Like at the end of the day, all that works is just putting out really good content that's really, you just have to think about the audience for it. You know, how big is the demographic that your content is reaching? You know, case in point, the reason these guys do news is because news reaches everybody. It's huge. Everybody's wanting to know the news and they need to know it every day for those who are interested. Real estate, for example, right? That's my bread and butter, but the real estate niche is pretty small. And guys like Graham and Kevin figured that out early. They started out in the real estate niche. They realized they kind of reached the mass or the max audience for it, which I want to say is like around 300 to 400,000. And after that, it's like, dude, if you want to get over that many subs, you're going to have to broaden out your, you know, niche. So it's going to depend on that. But I'll say for me, what really helped me out was not ad spend. I actually didn't spend any money on ads promoting myself. Everything we've done has been organically grown. You know, people are like, you know, what do you think about buying followers and stuff? And to be honest, personally, I don't care. If you want to buy followers or you want to buy views or whatever, like, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But it will hurt you in the long run. I've seen it happen with all of my real estate buddies who try to shortcut the system. And then all of a sudden they got, you know, 200,000 followers and, you know, 5,000 views on a video. It's like, dude, this ain't, or 5,000 or whatever, 500 likes on a post on Instagram. I'm like, okay,
Instagram poster.
Yeah. And so,
by the way, I hate that that's what social media has become. I actually hate it. It like all the fake followers and fake comments. It's like completely pervasive in the social media community. It really bothers me.
Well, it's really bad on Instagram. And I mean, for one thing, it sucks on even YouTube and Instagram now. Like on my thing, I get all these scammers who try to go in the comments and like, you know, do all this, I don't know, crypto crap. There's nothing I can do about it. Like they do what they do. You get fake accounts that impersonate you. You get all this stuff, but whatever. That comes with the territory of growing. But back to the point of how to grow. So what I did, pretty much I did 3 things that helped me grow. While others focused on ads and, you know, paying for shout outs and paying for followers, I said, let me take that same budget and just focus on making really good content. And so that's what I did. I hired out an in-house production team, a videographer, you know, content managers, and I built it out just like I build a business, you know, and I started out with a smaller budget. I hired a videographer and editor, paid him $3,000 a month. Then that kept scaling as we got more traction and we were able to put more money behind the budget. And sure enough, it went from 3 to 10,000 to 20,000 to now $40,000 a month is what I spend to create content across all platforms. So that was one thing, is that I looked at it and said, okay, if I've got this budget, everyone spends it this way traditionally in the entrepreneur space because they want to grow quick and they want to shortcut it. But I'm going to spend it in a different way because I think this is the long-term way to go about it. So that was the smart one. Decision number 2 was that unlike other YouTubers, I went all in on both TikTok and YouTube. Most YouTubers are now finally embracing short form content, whether it be shorts or reels or TikToks. But before, they were just like, nah, dude, that ain't nothing. But now they see their views are going down and that TikTok was the most viewed platform. And they're like, oh, okay, I should probably get good at short form. Well, I went from it from the beginning. I said, I'm going to be good at short form because I think that's where the world's going. People have low attention spans. They're not, that's just the way people are. And I made probably 2 to 3 TikToks every day by myself for about 6 months straight. When I started the platform, I literally go watch my first videos. It's me in my dining room at my house. I did it every morning before I ever went to the gym or went to work. I just said, I'm going to get my 2 TikToks in a day. I filmed just like whatever. I just literally freestyled some TikTok. I'd sit there on my phone, I'd edit it, and then I'd post it. And that was it. And I did it probably 700 TikToks. And then finally, from those 700 TikToks, I got a few 100,000 followers. And at that point, I realized like, okay, I'm kind of good where I'm at. I don't need to keep doing this. And so I hired out a production team as part of our team where they started repurposing my YouTubes, repurposing my podcast. And I'm close to 1 million followers now on TikTok, literally from just repurposing. I haven't even done anything for the last 6 months as far as posting or figuring out clips. So building it out like a business where you can automate it and getting the most out of, the content you're creating has been the second most important thing. The third most important thing has been the volume of content. Most people, they think, oh, I got to do 1 video a week. I got to, I'll try and make a couple of TikToks this week. And I'm like, you ain't going to make it, dude, because your competitors are making way more than you. And they'll be like, well, my favorite YouTuber only posts once a week or twice a week. Well, it's like, yeah, once you're huge, you don't have to do it anymore. you can chill. But in order to get to that point, it's just pure volume. Like, cause you don't know anything about yourself as a creator. You don't know what your audience likes, what your niche is going to be. You don't know like if you're even good or not. And the only way to become good is through repetition and making more videos. And you just have to put in the work. There's no way to shortcut the success. And so for me, I said, I'm just going to put out so many freaking videos that I'm going to find out what my audience likes and who I am as a creator. What is going to define me as far as what kind of content I want to make and what gets traction. And so, dude, at one point I made 7 YouTubes a week. I made 2 to 3 TikToks a day, reposted them on Instagram, put out as much volume as humanly possible without annoying people. And like, that was it. And that's what's got me here a year and a half later. And it's literally the same approach I take today. I'm like, hey, you know what? I got my 5 YouTubes this week. We got our 3 TikToks, but now I just go about it in a more systematic way that doesn't require as much of my time.
Well, yeah, I would assume thanks for laying that out, by the way. And I do want to also point out that I think your hair is probably contributing to your success as well. It's definitely a very fresh.
Good engagement.
Good. That's what it's about. I think uniqueness plays a role, right? Like uniqueness, right? What sets you apart? What makes you different?
Well, you want to know something funny I'm thinking about? So I'm doing a 60-day challenge right now for a new thing I started called The Wealthy Way. We could talk about that later. But part of the 60-day challenge is today's day 2 at the time of filming this is, staying on diet and working out for 45 minutes a day. And, I haven't done a diet in years. I just, being an ex-pro athlete, I've naturally stayed in shape, just kind of understanding not to overindulge, to make sure I'm staying healthy and all this stuff. It just comes natural. I said, all right, man, I'm going to friggin' count my macros and do all the stuff I used to have to always do that I just haven't done lately. And I was like, man, okay, if I get in like super good shape back to like when I was playing and other stuff like this, I'm going to test a theory out of doing this content shirtless and just see what happens. Because right now I'm too soft and I'm not going to go shirtless because I don't feel good about it yet. But I'm just curious to see what happens because I've seen it on Instagram and other things where you get these big jack bodybuilders, right? They get all these views and whatever. And I've got a friend of mine now, his name's Alex Hormozy. He's blowing up on YouTube and stuff. And he's this big jack dude, like way better businessman than I am. And but it's like, man, like, why is he blowing up so good? Yeah, his value and his content is great, but he's got this unique look to him where he's just huge. And like, he'll go and give advice in a tank top, and like, he's got this big mustache. And like, to your point, your uniqueness is something that you need to stand out against the crowd, because if you're just another podcaster who has nothing unique about him, like, you're just another podcaster. So I think leaning into whatever makes you unique is super important as a creator. In fact, I was golfing with a guy, and I just started doing these golf with me consultations. I was like, hey, if you want to golf with me, here's the price. We could talk all about your business for 5 hours. It's pretty tight, and have fun golfing.
That's cool.
And he goes, yeah, dude, I used to, yeah, he was like, yeah, dude, I used to ride the unicycle. I was like a world class. I was ranked 4th in unicycling and all that. I go, why have you not made any content riding that unicycle? I would be spitting facts riding the unicycle while I'm talking. That would be the most, like, that'd be the craziest thing I've ever seen for business content. And you for sure would blow up if you just did that. So yeah, I wish I could ride the unicycle because I would do it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's very easy for people to frame or not. I don't know what it is about us, but it just seems like so many people are afraid to lean into their uniqueness. But that's something that I definitely plan on doing more this year, and also telling more stories. I don't know how important this is to you and your channel, telling stories about recent failures or wins. That's something that's a real focus of mine this year too, is creating a larger narrative and then telling stories that are in line with that narrative to help people achieve their goals. People don't remember always what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And there's a reason why, the biggest books in the world, like the Bible, the Quran, there's a reason why they've stood the test of time. It's because of stories, the power of story. I do want to ask, and I don't want to.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, Ryan, but something that's been on my mind a lot recently is staying ahead of the curve on trends to an extent. I leaned into Clubhouse pretty big, and I was able to generate quite a lot of leads off of Clubhouse. Now it's kind of died down a bit. But I think about what's the next big thing. And I think the Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, I think there's a lot of interesting trends there. Is there anything in particular that you're looking at, that you're interested in, something you think might be a good way to stand out or really make the next 10 years happen for you in your business?
I'll tell you, Web3 is the most exciting thing that I have seen. It reminds me of when I first realized I could flip houses, 7, 8 years ago, when I was like, dude, I can actually do this and make money. And I look at Web3 today with where I'm at of having a social media following and all these businesses. And I'm like, dude, this is like the $100 million opportunity. And that's how I see it. I think without giving away all of my secrets for what we're developing, there's so many things that we can do. And I guess personally right now, I've got over $1 million worth of NFTs. They're all in Neo Tokyo, which is Alex Becker. He's a YouTuber. His NFTs and metaverse and all this stuff. And I've done a few YouTube videos on why I bought so much in those NFTs, mainly to get around other people in the Web3 space and to understand NFTs, crypto, metaverse, gaming, and all that stuff much better. Which, dude, just being in there for the last, couple of months, I've already learned so much that it's going to make my own, collection and everything I'm going to do so much better. So well worth the price just to be in that. But along with that, I mean, they've gone up in value a ton. I could flip them right now, make a lot of money, but I'm not. Also, his have passive income. I'm making 36 grand a month in passive income from the NFTs. So the amount of utility and things that you're able to do with NFTs are really limitless, and people don't even know the possibilities yet. It's crazy. And, long story short, I've been just kind of thinking about NFTs for the last year about how I want to go about it without doing anything. Cause I see a lot of these influencers, they just go drop a JPEG and make some money and then it's dead. And I'm like, dude, idiot. And there's so much, there's a way to create a real business, much in the way that Gary Vee is doing it, like you said, right? how he's adding this real world utility to VFriends, and how he just did his fish house thing, NFT, which is a membership to go eat at this restaurant they're building. And Gary obviously knows. I mean, Gary's been ahead of the trends forever. And so if you see Gary V putting all of his eggs in this NFT basket, it tells you something like this is going to be huge. And it already is huge. I mean, people pay millions and millions of dollars to buy them. I paid, I've got it too. So it's just like, it's going to be huge. And for me anyways, I'll just tell you, to give a little hint, I think being a real estate guy on social media who's had success in real estate in the real world, and there's a lot of possibilities with what we can do with NFTs in both the real world for real estate and in the metaverse.
Yeah, I think the real estate world is like prime, everything from titles to mortgage, capitalization, crowdfunding. I mean, just the idea of like being able to walk someone through a home. And yeah, it's really, really cool and exciting time. And I got to say, there's just so much information out there, but I'm definitely leaning into it. And because I have this podcast production company, it makes it easier for me to start laying out some foundations, putting my face out there. And that's definitely something that I'm leaning into. It's going to be huge. And to your point, I don't think that people fully understand. It reminds me kind of, and Gary says this, that 2000 internet boom where people are like, I'm never going to buy anything. I'll never buy pants on the internet. Why would I do that? Why would I buy pants on the internet? Who would have thunk?
Dude, it's going to be crazy. And I think the first movers are going to do really well, which is obviously what I'm aiming to do. And
yeah,
man, it's like when you think about all the possibilities, you're like, this is going to be nuts. Like you said, with title and how real estate will be transacted in the future, and how, you can view properties and own this digital real estate, and, potentially own your house in the real world and in the metaverse. And like, it's going to be nuts, man. I'm excited for it. And I'm excited. It reminds me, like I said, when I learned I could flip houses, like that was one of the most exciting times of my life. When I decided that I wanted to go all in at social media, that was one of the most exciting times of my life, because I understood the possibilities if we executed properly. And, going all in on, spending 40 grand a month to do it was a big risk, but I knew that it was going to be worth it. And at least for the long haul, even if it didn't pay in the short run, it was going to be worth it in the long haul. And it paid off quicker than I thought. But now my big thing is I'm building out a big internal tech team. And I am looking for the most talented developer, people who are in Web3 that I can find. And, I want to spend $50K a month on my tech team, just working on different things and ideas that I have and they have. And I'm excited for it because I know no one else is really doing it, at least in the creator space. Because most people, either they don't have the money or they're too cheap. They just, they don't believe in it. Like, even I see YouTubers today, they don't spend what I spend, on content, and they have way bigger channels and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you guys still edit your own videos? You guys are freaking nuts. So, that's kind of how I see it.
A lot of great points here. And I definitely encourage everyone, you got to check out everything that Ryan Pineda is doing. Links down below. And you definitely want to visit The Wealthy Way. What is it? Wealthyway.com. The Wealthy Way thing is really exciting to me too, because everyone's trying to sell and upsell and sell us, but he's giving away everything for free, for the planner, to the Discord, the community, to these sessions. It's really cool. Where can we find that Wealthy Way program, Ryan?
Yeah, just wealthyway.com. It's got links to everything there. Like Mark said, everything is completely free. I tell this to people all the time. They're like, okay, but seriously, what is it? Right. I'm like, dude, I am not afraid to sell you. Go watch my YouTube. I will tell you, go buy my coaching program, go give me money, go do. I could care less if people think I'm a salesman, because I am. But this truly is free. It really is a passion project. It's a community I'm trying to build. And I just think that a lot of great things are going to happen from, getting all of these people in one place who are very like-minded. And it will lead to things down the road. It doesn't have to lead to me selling something to them. It's just going to lead through collaboration and other things that end up happening. So that's my big goal from it.
I love it. It reminds me of Gary Vaynerchuk. We keep talking about Gary, but give away your best stuff for free, and good things will happen. I'm definitely a big believer in putting out good stuff into the atmosphere, and you get good stuff back. So Ryan, thanks so much for joining the After Hours Entrepreneur. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Thanks for listening to the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed Ryan Pineda's breakdown of his past, current, and future successes. Really excited to see what Ryan comes up with next. Links all below. And make sure if you haven't yet that you subscribe to the podcast. You don't want to miss out on all these amazing stories from After Hours Entrepreneurs. There is more coming. Now you've heard it. You've got it in your head. It's time to go take action. So go take action today. We'll catch you here next time on the After Hours Entrepreneur. Peace.